Don't worry, don't worry. I actually own all 6 of them. I just left the other 3 at my home. So today we're just gonna have these to look at, but I want to talk about all 6 of them. What is the real power of the DZBT05 cycles? Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Omniscient here. Today I am back to do another one of these kind of videos because somehow they seem to be doing well. I don't know. You guys actually really enjoy this, but you know, it takes me a lot of time to research and write my scripts and whatnot. I've taken a liberty to not do another presentation. I'm just kind of doing this again, just on camera with the cards I have and certain demonstrations I'll be going through, because I thought that this video, didn't really need, much elaborate graphics or whatnot. So here we are. Today I want to talk about DZBT05, which is Omniscient Awakening, and I want to talk about the cycle cards that came out. They each have 1 triple rare per nation, so I think there's total of 6, right? All of them have it, and they all have almost the same skills. So today I wanted to talk about them because I don't see much people actually talking about these cyclers, despite them being revealed on 6 different occasions. Yeah, no one has actually talked about it. So today I'm gonna just spend some time. It's gonna be a relatively shorter video. I want to talk about what they do, what are the applications, or what decks will play them, and whether they succeed or fail, because strangely there were a lot of misconceptions about it. Even I myself made an error in my Levidra's video. Of course, I've already edited it in the description a long time ago. So just throw a quick shout out here. At this point in time, if you have not watched any of my DZBT05 videos, I do recommend you actually check them out. They're all on my channel. By the time this video goes up, by then I'm pretty sure I would have already done most, if not all, of my DZBT05 deck profiles. So I'm pretty sure I would have had enough opportunities to talk about them, but this is the video dedicated to them once and for all, to end or even start the discussion. So yeah, let me know, as usual, because it's a discussion video, let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on these cards, what you think about them, because it's pretty interesting. Sometimes I see some really good takes and sometimes I see just really bad takes, and to be honest, they entertain me, either of them. So yeah, just keep them coming. It's really fun to have these kind of videos, because a lot of the things that I raised on this channel, I noticed a lot of people just don't talk about it, so it's always kind of strange to me. So yeah, here we go. Now, first and foremost, we should probably just talk about the cyclers themselves. All 6 of them bear the same skills, so if you guess the reason for me owning the Dragon Empire and Keta ones is because I am very heavily invested in these 2 nations personally, yes, you're not wrong. That's why I carry them with me. I'll use Mr. Summit Flare as an example. So all of them have the same skill, where you only get their skills if you do not have a G-Zone. So automatically, if you're playing a strike deck set, you you don't qualify. You don't get it, right? So any form of strike deck set at all will cause you to not be able to play these generics, which probably sucks, considering that, but yeah, suck it up, Night Rose. We can't get everything in life. So first and foremost, this is meant for all non-strike decks, but this does mean that if you do play a grade for Vanguard, for example, Trichil Ignis and whatnot, yeah, you do actually get this skill, which is nice. Now, your 2 skills you get are as follows. The first is the X skill from your hand. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard, or greater, mind you, you can discard this card from your hand, choose 2 cards that came from the right deck, either in the soul or in the drop zone, and remove them, put them back to the right deck. If you do, look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 grade 3 or greater card that has a different name from your Vanguard, add it to your hand. If you are unable to add, the card that you discarded, which is this guy, goes back to the hand. So at face value, it definitely sounds pretty interesting. I'm going to read the second line of text first, just so we're all in. So now for the auto skill, which is when placed on the Guardian Circle, there's a condition, it will gain 5,000 shield. If your opponent has a G-Zone, you can bind the grade 3 from your draw, and if you do, it gains another 10,000 shield. Usually a lot of people actually forget that. So yeah, I know a guy who lost his tournament because of this. He forgot that he could do that, so youch, buddy. You might want to read your cards again. So that's the entire skill, and if you're wondering what all the others do, don't worry, they all do the exact same thing. The only difference is the condition for the first 5k power. 5k shield, sorry. So for Summit Flare, he follows the traditional roots of Ninglu Tensha, no, not Tensha Steed. He follows one of the double rares from year 1 DE, which says if your opponent has 4 more cards in the drop zone, he gains 5, and then if you have 10 or more, 8 or more, he gets another 5k shield, I think. I can't remember the name. I have it like right in my bag, but I'm not gonna pull it out. So let me know in the comments if you remember who I'm talking about. Gundiva mains rise up. Then we have Miss Krigwell. Krigwell, her condition is if your opponent has 3 or more units, I believe. And then for this guy, the guy drawn by Daisuke Zuga, of course, he's the art I carry around with him. It's if your opponent... Man, I can't say. Okay, it doesn't matter. But the point is that they all get power for a condition that's linked to your... Oh, if you have a field spell. Right. if you have a set order. I'm such an idiot. But yeah, the rest are all similar. So I believe Stoicheus one is you have 4 more cards in your draw. I believe Vasago, who is the Dark States one, gains power for 4 more cards in the soul. Because I was recently testing that with Odium. I believe that's the case. Again, I could be wrong, but that's just from my memory. They all have a really simple condition that's linked to their nation for them to each get their shield. Okay, so that will wrap up what they do. Now, for what are their applications? You, at face value, you will obviously say, miss, this is for non-G-Zone decks. And then I would clap you and send you a bouquet of flowers because clearly you pass listening comprehension. Now, what I'm really talking about is which decks can play it. Because while they are generics in their own right, what are they really for? On one hand, they sound a lot like the Jewel Beast, the Crystal Beast that came in BT12. You know, they also had effects that removed cards from the drop zone or the soul that came from the right deck, and then you get additional effect. For them, you could either get an additional effect placed on rearguard or get additional 15,000 shield if on the Guardian Circle. But you'll notice that their removal effect actually comes for their main phase skill, which is their X skill where you discard and search for grade 3 or higher. Their shield effect is actually completely unrelated. You don't even need to touch any of their resources. It's just a free 10k shield if you hit a basic condition, and if you have a G-Zone opponent, you get to bind one of your grade 3s from the drop and gain an additional 10k shield, which means it goes up to a 20k shield by itself. So I think first and foremost, the first application that I would raise is that they are very good defensive cards. These guys are definitely superior than the Crystal Beasts if you want to look at cards with shield. If you are playing a defensive stolly like deck, this is definitely one of the first few cards I would actually start looking at, especially given, for example, in Dragon Empire, we have stuff like what's that thing called? Defensive Roar, right? And that cycles your Guardians back to your hand. Having a high shield value card like this would actually incentivize you to play more of those synergies. Not only that, anything that just lets you move into the Guardian Circle. So, you know, any of your decks that play a lot of intercept, or any of your decks that generally give you a lot of cards to guard from your hand, yeah, these are actually really great cards, defensive-wise. But I don't think you are playing these cards just for the defensive value alone. We've reached a state in this series where if Vanguard Regress is not even considered the best deck format, that should be a clear red light to you that something is wrong when it comes to defense. So I don't think defense is the only application these guys have. I think most importantly, if you're playing it, you're using it for both skills, and that would mean you're using it for the grade 3 search skill. The grade 3 search skill is very weird. First of all, it is just like the Crystal Beast timing, right? But you only can do this maximum twice per game, because for those of you who are not informed, you only have 4 cards that come from the right deck. The grade 0, the grade 1, the grade 2, and the grade 3 if you manage to Persona. You can't remove an existing Vanguard, right? So assuming you get to Persona, you only have 4 cards to actually remove from the right deck, which would also mean that if you do your basic maths, you only can use that search skill twice. So that would, it's kind of an issue for some people, but I still feel the need that I need to bring this up, because I'm curious if people will actually remember that, or if they'll start commenting without this background in mind. So again, just a reminder, you only can use the search skill twice per game. So even though you can actually play up to 4 of each of these cards, unlike the Crystal Beasts where, you know, they're locked to at most 2 offs, you only can use this twice per game for its search skill. The other 2 copies, you will have to use it for their defensive skill. So it's not all that bad, but then their search skill doesn't even search for a Persona. As it states, you can only search for a grade 3 or higher card with a different name. different name than your Vanguard. So let's say, for example, since I'm using the Vermilion analogy, right, I play Draconic Kaiser Vermilion as my Vanguard. The only great trees I can search would be great trees in my strategy that are named myself. So it would be cards like Rough Cull, or for example, Thunderbolt, because Thunderbolt is a great tree card, right? So in a case of Vermilion, it would be logical for me to play these cards because Vermilion is a deck that's very heavily reliant on having great trees that are not named Vermilion. That being said, again, another problem that we are going to start arising really soon is that, some of these cards actually change their names when they're on the Vanguard circle. Case in point, the Kings, Raziel, Levidras changed their names, as I mentioned in the Levidras video, or at least I got it wrong, but I edited it in the description, right? Because they changed their names, they don't actually count as a different name, which means you're now unable to search for the additional targets. For Levidras, it is alright, because Levidras actually has multiple great tree rearguards that are insanely bandlist worthy. But the point is that, for example, Raziel, if you played in Raziel, the only card you can actually search is Gerwelius, and you only play Gerwelius at a 2-off, so you don't really achieve anything, right? So I would say it's because of issues like that that make these cards not that usable, because you have to only play these in decks that have a lot of great tree or greater cards with different names. I think that's definitely the keyword. If your deck is a deck that uses a lot of different great trees with different names than your Vanguard, then you would play this. So what are decks that you can think of? Jojo Ignis. Jojo Ignis has Ignis as a different name, and he has stuff like Ristal Gala. I would also definitely recommend if you play this in decks like Bastion, where the whole freaking deck is a great tree, right? I would also recommend that you play it in decks which require specific great trees of different name at specific time, or at least can change names. For example, Avantgarde. I think it's a wonderful example because Avantgarde always needs Richter to play the game. But if you want to go even further beyond, I think an application that I haven't seen being touched yet on the internet, and I'm willing to be the first to call it out, because it is going to be relevant. I think every Mask deck should look into it. I think the Mask decks have an extremely high potential of using it because they have multiple cards of different name. Of course, the first one I think of is the Mask of Hydrogrum, right? That's definitely an application that I feel is worth looking into, given the fact that, we are going to get 2 new Mask units in December, Gandiva and Solarian. So definitely, I'm recording this before the Solarian stream, but I definitely think, given what we know, it is worth the application to look into. It's definitely worth looking into because of the number of great trees you play with different name. You don't have to keep playing those bricky mass searches anymore. You can just play this card not only as a part of your defense, but also to look for great trees of different names up to twice per game, which, for a free cost, I would say that's pretty good. Then again, because these cards are technically net zero, I don't know if they'll really see play. I'm also starting to ask myself, is it really worth it? And I think that's where I will end the video. I don't have a clear-cut answer on whether these are insanely great or not. From what I play with them, from the 6 different nations I tried in Levidras, I tried it in Odium, I tried it in Vermilion, I tried it in I played all 6 of them. I even played in Celestial. Can you believe it? Freaking Celestial. But the point is that I think they definitely have applications in some, but not all decks. I know every time of year where a set comes out, people whine about generics and go, I hate generics. And then with people like Mcrafter 3000 telling you have to buy every generic. But I really stopped to ask myself, do we just blindly buy generics, or do we read what they do now? Because half the time you're putting in decks that it doesn't even work, right? I've explained to you these cards for the past 13 minutes at least, and I hope from today's video you would at least realize that these cards are not exactly generic. They are really tailored for specific decks out there. It's so specific that I could even taste the blood on my tongue, but I just can't say the name, which sucks, because one day I really hope the decks that play this get the glory they deserve. Very soon, one day, we'll figure out who this is for. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.